like, if we pull the minutes in every time, although I guess this is,
And here you have, it's usually only something.
this is in camera, this one, right?
If you have questions about the minutes, yeah, we would have to pull those and then go in camera for that conversation.
Okay, never mind. But I mean, when you look at all the items that are in the consent agenda, it's the same thing with the director's report? Or am I
We
the only,
could.
am I the only one that has questions every month on these decisions? Am I?
No, I like hearing what the fundraising in the library report.
So
So I'd
we
like us
could
to read
examine that, just by way of advice, we have to modify policy 7.2 to change what the regular consent agenda are. But governance committee can look at that.
Yes, I'll be happy to do that, because it just seems every month.
But for this meeting, you're pulling the library report?
No, that's okay.
Okay. Fundraising report, no? Okay, so no items being pulled from the consent agenda. I would seek a motion to adopt the consent agenda items then. Chad, thank you. Kristen, seconded. Thank you. Motion's on the floor, I need debate. Those in favor? And opposed, that's carried. Thank you. The agenda itself, I don't have any changes to the agenda that was distributed. Are there any other items on the Yes,
I was wondering if we could add an in-camera session, I mean, time permitting, to address relationship with city council and roles of the board.
We'll add that as new business, item number 9G. Final session for relationship with council. Yes,
And
very good.
under business arising, could we use this to deal with more with items that were in the minutes from the previous month, just to follow up? You know,
Depending
for-
on which one.
okay, if they're not handled under other items. For example, Marigold IT presentation to council. Or they wanted to ask, you know, are they gonna do that? Like what happened with that one? Counting consistency or standardization. Counting numbers, data for the libraries. And we talked about referring it to the LSP and things like that. So I just wanted to follow up.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. Could we,
Yeah,
maybe
so
we could
the-
put a general under business arising from the previous month's minutes.
Yeah, I can add those as a new 7B, the miracle election presentation, and the 7C, case council procedures. So it's push track. Yes, that's right, yes, for sure.
Okay, and then a couple of others, the date order and the decision that Min was gonna make about rare items, donated items that are rare, are very valuable that are donated to the library.
All right, and that's a new 7D, the day order, and a new 7E, rare item donations. Library. Any other additions or changes to the agenda? Seeing none, I'd seek a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. Kristen, thank you. And seconder, Natasha. Okay. Motion's on the floor, those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. All right, public question and answer period. We didn't have any members of the public provide notice 14 days in advance in accordance with.
Your governor's board says 10 days in
7.2.
advance.
So we will continue on to business arising.
You wanna talk about
The
that?
election of a chair, a vice chair, pardon me, is the next order of business. We've got one, just to explain, with his resignation of 2 members of the board, Renee Summers and.
He's going against the governance board.
Just a note to the gallery, you do need to stay in order here. You're here.
You need to follow your public governing board.
You're here as observers, and so you need to proceed with the business of the board.
question and answer period is
Can I
open.
say one thing?
No, but we do need to proceed with the business of the board, and there were no members of the public that registered in advance for public questions or answers.
So you want the flexibility, but we don't get the flexibility?
Next order of business. So we're not. Resignation of Brent Tribune and Renee Summers.
So we're not gonna talk about the elephant in the room?
Has left the position of vice chair open. We received a nomination from Sarah Winger, who's unable to be here tonight due to a prior family commitment.
Come on. Members of the public are reminded that they are observers in this process. If we cannot order and allow.
You are a public servant.
With their business, we will either recess or adjourn. The election of the vice chair. We have a nomination from Sarah Winger. So this is the first call for nominations. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
Any other mistakes you guys want to
Yes,
make?
Kathy?
I'll nominate
Thank you. That's one nomination. Sarah?
Sarah Winger.
I couldn't hear you as well.
I'm nominating Sarah Winger to be vice chair of the Airdrie Public Library Board.
Thank you.
Second call for nominations. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? And third and final call, are there any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, I will declare Sarah elected by acclamation. So we will send her that notification.
I nominate Tammy Rose.
Thank you very much. Next item is 7B, miracle election presentation. So Kathy.
I just wondered if this had been arranged or what was the follow-up, what's happening.
Presentation to City Council. I have been looking at ways to have MLS present to council. Timing
Why are we even listening?
Can you listen to this so much or what? What's the point?
Yeah.
Like their next meeting. This is ridiculous.
If you allow Walden to
We'll be
speak for
back,
2
all
or 3
right.
minutes, we
We'll
will all
back.
leave.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Section
I'm not gonna sit here and
3.1.1.
listen to any of these
Section
people. They deserve zero
3.3,
respect.
conduct of meetings to the Board of
ladies and
Governors.
gentlemen, I call
Not
for
wasting
recess
my
of the
Regular meetings of the library board shall be open to the public. The agenda of the meetings will include a public question and answer period.
What are you afraid of?
No.
Let him speak for 2 minutes. Come on.
He wants flexibility, but he won't offer it to us.
Yeah. Go home, communist, go home, go home.
No democracy.
Get up there, Logan.
Good evening, Chair and members of the board.
Shut up!
This opportunity to speak. Before addressing the issue at hand, I want to acknowledge something.
America's down Highway 2.
This is a beautiful facility. It was welcoming. And it is thoughtfully designed.
You hate democracy.
members of the board, we're recessed for 15 minutes. So
Get out of here, then. We're here too, we're Canadian.
So if you're a part of this board meeting, maybe I can just ask you to stand up and step aside for a minute.
like you are.
So that I can identify who's who, and then I can address the room, and then I will address
No, that's not.
They don't even have a conversation. Where you go?
Oh, they called his face.
Of course they did. Next time. All we want to do is talk. Look forward to the next meeting, because we're coming back. That would be so fun for you.
I will give you a chance to speak, okay, but I'm gonna ask you to let me speak. It's a
We'll be back.
director for the library. For this portion of their meeting. Okay, that you were assigned an area of use outside the building for whatever purpose you wanted. right? Whether that was to protest, whether that was to be heard, etc. Okay, and that's the area that decides. This area, although this is a public space in the sense that people are welcome to come and use, at the time, this is not a public space. Okay? And public space interrupting this meeting.
It's only a public space for those who you like.
Okay.
Who suits your agenda.
We have to come up with we heard voice your concerns. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. That doesn't mean that we can come in and interrupt. Okay? They have to have, my understanding is they have to have the authority, right, so that they can continue to do the things they do. This meets their obligations that they're required to do.
May I state,
Sure, you go ahead.
regular meetings of the library board shall be open to the public. The agenda of regular meetings will include a public question and answer period that may last up to 20 minutes. They ignored that. This is open to the public. We are allowed to be here, sir.
What are you referencing?
The board governance 3.1.3 conduct of meetings. This is on their website.
Okay.
And it also states that the question and answer period may last up to 20 minutes and it's open to the public.
Okay.
And then it goes on to say that if a member of the public intends to give a presentation, they must give 10 days notice, which on February 11th, I gave them correspondence. They refused to get back to me. And then on February 17th, I sent a follow-up email. And then a day later, and then I said, I would like to do a presentation. But then they cited section 7.2 of the library, which states I need to give 14 days. But this public governing board that they have on their website as well states 10 days. And granted, on February 11th, I sent my initial correspondence, and my formal request didn't come in until actually 9 days, so it is late.
But that doesn't preclude us from asking questions in the question
In the
period.
question period. And Daniel Nels, in recent correspondence, also said this is a volunteer position that he takes on, and that he asked some flexibility on his side of things. And then in return, I said, well, if you want flexibility for the time wasted, or time, not wasted, but the time that you spent not getting back to me, which was a week, I think there should be a little bit of flexibility in that 10-day requirement. I said I was 1 day short, but he still refused to put me on the wrong. So they're choosing to ignore this, and that should be illegal. That's unethical. And you're trying to kick us out.
Sorry?
Because we don't want to have a talk
I'm sorry.
on our behalf. Because that is something that is very stressful from a person as a member of the public, from our perspective, where we are trying to have a constitutional or democratic voice. But when there's double standards within our public institutions, it's hard to be represented. So, first off, and if that means you guys are welcome to stay, then you guys are able to stay. I'm not here to kick you out. That's not my job. But are you going to ask them to come over? So what I would like to do is have a conversation with you and with somebody from the library so we can figure out how to do things. Yep. Right? Yep. I'm fine with that. Okay. Yep. So if you give me a moment, I'm going to go and figure out what their position is and what they are open to. Okay. Okay. And then hopefully the three of us can sit down and come up with a solution. But make sure to bring up that they lied to you, that this is open to public. He said this, so make sure they know that. So I see, you have your presentation, or your document. Yeah. And that's it. I know a thing or two about reading legislation and rules. I'm not gonna get into the nitty-gritty. You obviously feel that you're in a position where you have the right to be here. There it was not so let's figure out how we can explain things. Okay? Okay. Give me a couple of minutes.
Officer, may I add one point of clarification?
Well, if everybody has time to talk to me, I will be here all night.
They are conflating two things. The 10-day requirement to present to the board is separate from showing up and being able to ask questions in the question period.
Yes, okay.
They will conflate that, saying you have to have 10 days notice to ask questions.
That's not what it said.
And that's what they did at the board conversation just moments ago, precluding us from asking questions, which is against their policies.
Okay.
So they're conflating those. I wanted to,
Okay.
I just wanted to reiterate that.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Yeah, I think they're, the rules are the rules.
Well,
They're going against their own rules.
they make up the rules and they break the rules.
I don't know about that.
I'm gonna end up in jail.
Why would he deserve that, sir? Sir, may I ask a question about your comment? Is it your position that he should go to jail for the behavior this evening?
No, probably not.
Then why would you say that? Did you say that he should go to jail?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's rowdies here, so why?
Rowdiness is jail-worthy?
I mean, snowflake worthy, I guess.
Sorry?
Snowflake worthy. You used the term. He's woke. You're woke, aren't you?
What? Like,
Well, you've been indoctrinated. Is it the View you're watching? Oh, I go by facts. I go by history.
like what?
Well, no, let's
Start somewhere, please.
Well,
Because, you know, your people
How
call
about-
me a dirty immigrant who's worthless.
so you're a dirty immigrant?
Who is his people?
Honestly, guys, please
Where
stop
did
the
you?
conversation
Why?
because it seems to be getting escalated.
It's the debate.
Can I ask you what you meant by your people?
Yes,
Who had UCP?
please keep it respectful.
So that's his people? And I'm sorry, what was the alleged, what did you claim that they had done or said?
Who are you? Why do
I'm just, I'm an attendee, and you're an attendee, and I'm interested in your perspective.
You're just here.
Yeah,
I mean, I can choose not to talk to you, right? So,
Yeah. So are you a Canadian citizen or are you an immigrant?
yeah.
yeah.
There happens to be both things.
Yeah.
You just happen to be born here, right?
You were born here, but you're an
No,
immigrant.
I wasn't. I was telling you that you were born here, right?
Yes.
So you had the privilege of being born here.
That was out of my control.
Yeah, it's mine.
Okay, so
And now you're telling me that I'm indoctrinated. But you're also wearing that. So I think
Can you clarify what, so he said that you were indoctrinated, you turned the conversation toward immigrant.
I'm not talking to you.
I'm just curious what the relationship is between
I mean,
immigrant
looking at what I'm
and
wearing and saying that I'm indoctrinated and woke and whatever. Yeah, I happen to not think that pedophile rapists like Trump should be in power.
he's got TDS, comfort arrangements.
Yeah, well, okay.
Anything you don't like is just a derangement, right? But you get to ask a question.
To be fair, you brought him up. No one here brought up Trump, so.
Yes, I did because I don't want a pedophile in charge. But whatever. People don't care.
Is that, who's in charge
Trump is the president
of?
of the USA.
Yeah, none of us are in the USA right now.
Yeah, but you want to be, right?
No, not at all.
Good fucking luck. You think he's not going to come and invade us?
Is it your position that Trump will invade Canada, invade Alberta? Sorry, is
Yes.
that, yeah. So Donald Trump will invade Alberta.
Trade war? You think you're going to get $5 billion just like that? Out of the goodness out of his heart?
$5 billion?
Who's,
500 billion? Does it matter? Oh, good. A line of credit. You know what else that is? Like a mortgage? You're just locked into it?
That's a mortgage. Line of credit.
Great plan, buddy. Great plan.
That's what we can go into negotiations with position of strength.
And what is your freedoms?
Our freedoms. In case Canada decides to strong arm us and not give us our taxes, so that we come from a position of strength financially until we can get
As a landlocked little country.
landlocked. We're currently policy bonds. That's worse than landlocked.
Yeah,
Landlocked,
we're already landlocked.
We can negotiate.
MP who's in charge of this property.
Maybe talk to the Liberal government that caused all this BS.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know that you understand just how basic functions of
Pretty soon you're going to start. Pretty soon you're explain it. Explain it. Explain it. Explain it.
municipal is responsible. Do you understand what the federal is responsible?
Do you?
Yes.
Explain it.
So
You don't even know. He doesn't even know.
So, This place was built with municipal funds, right? Was the province involved in that?
This place was built with taxpayer funds.
Yes.
Municipal
Yeah.
taxpayer funds.
No, municipal, provincial, and federal.
And the police force is what?
Is federally funded.
Taxpayer funded.
With taxpayer from us as well. We pay federal taxes.
Federal taxes are,
Come from our pockets as well.
yes,
Yes.
and we all, as Canadians, pay the same, into the same fund.
I believe it's 1,300 officers currently in Alberta that we're paying for that we are not getting through the RCMP contracts. Did you know about that?
Maybe talk to your premier?
The premier is dealing with that. She did the Alberta Next panel. That was part of her the Alberta Next panel topics. Is the
Yeah, where they
RCMP
said
session.
that a 17-year-old should be spanked.
They never said that. That wasn't even on the topic.
Sorry,
Yes, they did.
may I just ask about
No,
that?
I don't think you may.
What was
I think you can
Just
keep
what is
asking,
what
but
is
I'm
the
not
reference there?
Because he's
So,
losing.
are you?
anything, like anything you think is just you win?
Can I just approach the conversation?
Why?
Well, because this is kind of combative, and we can have a dialogue.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just taking it in the frame.
No, I mean, I don't want to be in frame at all.
There's no expectation of privacy here. So I'm going to continue to work. So you did make a claim there about spanking 17-year-olds. I'm sorry, what was the claim? I didn't hear it.
That whatever his name is, who is the chief, Danielle Smith's chief of staff, said to a interview of the next panel that
No, we're just me.
he's back, that his parents should be spanked.
I know.
I don't know the reference. And
Well, you people, like, you know everything about the next panels and how great they were. They weren't just propaganda of the factories.
So
Yes or no?
is it your position that Alberta Next panels were propaganda factories?
Yes. They didn't open the floor to other people's opinions. They cut the mics, much like your issues
There were,
here.
my understanding is that there were rules around the microphones, and
But you don't seem to respect these rules. So rules for thee, but not for me.
who's you? You said you don't respect the rules. Are you talking to me, or are you talking about the collective?
The collective here.
I'm not the collective, I'm just one guy. And so I was abiding by the rules of this evening. So I just appreciate if you don't say you don't respect the rules and direct that at me, when in fact,
Why would
there's no
I? You
evidence.
do not associate with the same cause.
I'm here because I have similar questions about why one group of petitioners was allowed access to the library space, but a different group of petitioners weren't allowed access to the library space.
From my understanding,
Yeah.
is that it was a new facility, so they weren't expecting what the community space was being used for. So therefore,
But they do have policies that preceded the construction of this place, and this place inherited the policies.
Then, follow up on that, there was no allowance for a recall petition to do that, or the education funding petition.
The recall petition did have space here, but they
And they
paid for
paid
it.
for it, but it wasn't the same community space. And they were
One
just
might
in the room.
May I ask?
They did not do anything outside.
One might argue that the recall is a cause that is different than the question of independence.
Okay, and
So
one might argue.
May I finish, please? May I finish? The library did allow access to the space for one side of the referendum, one
Which
side
was
of the independence question.
constitutionally legal, whereas this question is unconstitutional as by our Supreme Court, and yet we still superseded because our premier doesn't actually give a shit about our democracy.
The Supreme Court was interpreting a law that is now obsolete and was made obsolete through legislative process.
By the Alberta government, right?
Yes, by the
They
voters.
also used the notwithstanding clause 4 times to supersede human rights.
Not in this matter.
But it's the same people in power, and you have no issue with the people in power asking, allowing these
I have many issues with the people in power. But I'm kind of curious to stay on this one subject. So if on the question of independence, one side of that petition was allowed access to this space, should the other side not be allowed access to this space?
No.
If an exemption was made to library policy for one side,
Were exemptions
clearly,
made?
clearly,
Well, they just allowed the communal space to be used, and then enough people were upset that the communal space was being used that way, and
no,
issued
the
complaints.
policy of the library is that the space is not, public.
So there were no
Sorry,
complaints.
let me finish. Paid spaces are open to anyone willing to pay, including
Yes, I
partisan,
understand that.
including partisan
understand
actions. But in this case, a partisan action was given access to the common space
Right,
at no
I
fee,
understand that.
and that is
Was
a
the
break
common-
of the governing policy. The policy of the library says that that should not happen, but they did make an exemption for that group.
Where was that?
The policy is
Yeah,
written,
but I'm sure.
and it says that it's a public space. It should not be used for partisan activism or petition. It essentially says that the common areas of the public library are to be neutral politically, but they did allow the petitioners of the Forever Canada activists to use the common space to set up tables and take signatures. So they made an exemption to the policy for that group, showing that the board is either partisan in nature or discriminatory. So they discriminate, apparently, because they prefer certain policies over other policies. They support certain policy.
Where is it
ideas.
written in policy?
Well, it isn't written in policy. The policy is that they should be politically neutral. The intent of the policy is that the public library is a political space.
So you're saying that it wasn't in the policy, it wasn't written?
I'm saying the policy intent, and I don't know exact words, sorry. Logan has it. But the intent of the policy is that the public space of the library is apolitical, it's neutral politically. But by the actions of the board, they did allow the Forever Canada petition to use common space. So de facto, the board is saying that they're able and willing to discriminate toward, in favor of certain policy ideas and against other policy ideas.
And once they got pushback, they changed that.
They got pushback, and what this group, I think, one of the questions they have is, if one side of that political issue was granted access to the common space, should the other side of that same political issue not be granted the same exemption?
It goes back yet again to the question of one side has been ruled illegitimate, and yet
No.
yes.
So that ruling, again, do I have to repeat that? The ruling was made
And it was
by
overridden.
an activist judge with no right to actually publish the
So
ruling.
is everything that you just said agree with that?
No. The ruling of the judge came after the legislative change. The judge published a judgment based on obsolete legislation. Why would he do that rather than just withhold the judgment? Because the case itself became moot as soon as the legislation was passed or changed. No, the change in legislation occurred prior to the publication.
But it wasn't before the case was brought before the judge.
Let's be clear what case we're talking about. Are you talking about the case about about whether the referendum, the independence question can be put forward?
Yes.
Because there was a legal process around that issue. And then the legislation was changed,
In Alberta.
which benefits, by the way, it benefits all citizen initiatives, no matter the political stripe. But because of the legislative change, it did mean that,
How did it make it better?
well, simple because you can bring a citizen initiative on any issue you want. And the process is
They not also change how many signatories were needed and how much money was needed.
that was actually, I think, previous, and that's a different set of legislative changes.
Is it not interesting how all of these changes have benefited one side,
No, they've benefited multiple sides,
but
there
this
are
one
multiple
specifically?
citizens.
So are you
The
saying?
timing is interesting.
Okay, so are you saying that it is as valuable to only need 177,000 versus 400,000? Are you saying it's the same thing?
No, I'm saying.
Okay, but I'm
No,
asking.
wait, but I'm saying every citizen's initiative now only needs 177,000. So if there
And
was,
yet the previous
if
one-
there was an issue
And yet
that
the
you felt
previous
strongly
one
about,
got more and more could be invalidated by this one.
the other one is a separate question. Like,
So then what are we doing here?
well,
It's separate. You just said it's separate. So it's not the same.
okay, fair comment. The language of the other question is different and very distinct from the language of the current one. Arguably, the language of the original question is also an independence referendum. And people that I've talked to that are on the side of independence are fully happy if the Forever Canada question gets put on the ballot, because it itself is a referendum of independence.
And yet it was to stay part of Canada.
But if enough people vote against it,
More people so far have signed up, and there were more signatories needed to even bring it to legislature. So is that not just interesting to you that you?
so hold on, no, Tom Lakusic knew of the legislative changes that were coming and like made an error of submitting his
There were no
question like a
legislative-
week. He submitted the question like a week too early. If he had waited a week, his requirement would have been 177. And he knew that going in.
And yet
Like,
you
it
still
wasn't-
had the
it wasn't
bravery to do it. Why didn't the separatists do that?
Who's the separatist?
Alberta independence.
The word is independence. Thank you.
It's separatists. There is no difference.
It's semantics.
Great. My future is semantics. But great.
Okay, you want to talk about the future? Sure. So, what is your biggest concern? So if
That this process is being funded and astroturfed by Jeffrey Rabb and others who are making money from the U.S. Oh,
sorry,
it's fine. Whatever. Who cares? Do your thing.
I'd be happy to do
Do
that.
now.
Can I still sit here?
Yes, of course.
I'm going to.
Okay, everybody. So the board is about to reconvene and they're going to present and vote on an option or a motion to allow a speaker from your group to have 5 minutes of time on the floor, to which Logan, on behalf of the group, has agreed to, okay? And he will speak for 5 minutes. There is a portion of this meeting that is not open to the public when they go in camera, and at that point, we are all going to exit the room and leave the board to do their thing, okay? And return to, if you wish to stick around, to return to the space that was designated for your group at the front of the building, okay? This was all agreed on by Logan, representative of your group, and Dan, representative of the library, okay? Now, there is just one other thing, though. This room has a capacity to how many people are allowed to be in. 47 people are allowed to be in this room as per the fire code, okay? I acknowledge the likeliness that we need to make a mass exodus of this room is low, but we do need to stick with that. My job, at the end of the day, really is all about public safety, okay? So I'm going to ask to do a head count You'd be taking it upon yourselves to count. I'm sure we all are able to do that. Somebody, I think, by my count, you probably have close to that number, 1, 2, 5. I don't know how many people. Some people may have that wait
Can
outside.
we ask that those that are with the group, if this is often to state, that's what we're here to support, and anyone who's just observing for the sake of observing, step out on their own. Like our city council that will make a speech about this, ask them to step out
Yeah,
before the public.
How you guys sort that out for sure, right? I think that the board needs to be here.
Oh, yes, you want your order. We
And,
don't care if you're not part of it.
Yeah, I think that's fair if everybody can agree to that. You know, I think 1 or 2 people could probably stand outside and we can order this thing, right?
There's not that.
Okay. Are we all good to reconvene this meeting and see if this motion passes to allow you 5 minutes to speak and be heard?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm good. I don't need to be here anymore. I'll step outside and leave room for 47 more people. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, are all 3 officers gonna leave the room? Pardon me, are all 3 officers gonna leave the room? No, we're just gonna step outside. Okay, then we're at capacity.
We're at 47.
Yeah, okay, 3 leaving. Okay. Perfect.
Good job. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we'll reconvene from recess at 7:13. Natasha, I believe you have a motion.
Oh, yeah, I would like to make a motion to allow Logan, our guest party, to speak for 5 minutes so we can hear out what they have to say.
Motion's in order. Is there a seconder? Okay, Kathy will second. And is there any debate? Seeing no debate, those in favor of the motion? Is there any opposed? Okay, that motion is carried.
As our Democratic Party.
So we'll add that to the agenda immediately. So returning to the public presentation, public question and answer period.
Thank you.
Logan, you're up. We'll get the timer out, so we've got
We'll
one.
skip straight to it. These are the core facts. In summer 2025, an Elections Alberta sanctioned citizen initiative petition known as Forever Canadian was permitted to operate inside this library in the mezzanine and collect signatures. At that time, the January 2025 bylaws were already in effect. Those bylaws state, no person using the library or grounds will solicit others for personal, commercial, religious, or political purposes. Despite that clause, petitioning activity was permitted indoors. Under the then active community table program, Forever Canadian was granted free indoor access to conduct petitioning activity within the library. In January 2026, Stay Free Alberta, also an Elections Alberta sanctioned citizen initiative addressing Alberta's future within Confederation, requested comparable access under the same program. That request was denied. Shortly afterward, the community table program was suspended pending board review. The bylaw did not change, the policies did not change, the program terms did not change. What changed was how access was administered. That is the issue before this board. Comparability. A recall petition targeting the MLA is a different matter. A petition concerning education funding is a different subject. Those are distinguishable. What is not distinguishable is this. Forever Canadian and Stay Free Alberta address the same constitutional subject, Alberta's future within Confederation. They are 2 sides of the same public question. One side received free indoor access under the same written framework, the other did not. Suspending the program going forward does not resolve the difference, it preserves it. Governance and oversight. Under section 12.4 of the Libraries Act, this board has full management and control of the municipal library and is responsible for organizing, promoting, and maintaining comprehensive and efficient library services. That authority includes responsibility, ensuring clarity, consistency, and public confidence. When administrative inconsistencies create disparity affecting public trust, the board has both the authority and the responsibility to address it. On broader consistency, I would also respectfully note something related to governance clarity. In correspondence, I was informed that 14 days notice is required to be placed on the board agenda under policy 7.2. However, the publicly posted governing structure document references a 10-day requirement. When 2 official documents reference different timelines for the same process, it creates confusions for residents trying to engage in good faith. Similarly, in separate correspondence from the city, I was informed in writing that outdoor public space throughout the city could be used for petitioning provided it did not interfere with others. Yet shortly afterward, public messaging from the mayor indicated that the city did not promote or condone the use of the city hall parking lot for petitioning, even though the activity occurred outside business hours and consistent with written guidance. I raise these examples not to accuse, but to illustrate a pattern of inconsistencies that residents can see when reviewing publicly available information. If discrepancies are visible after only a few days of review by an ordinary citizen, it highlights how important alignment and clarity are in maintaining public confidence. Consistency matters, transparency matters. When public documents and public statements do not align, trust can erode, even if unintentionally. Public confidence and dual roles. 2 members of this board also serve as elected city councillors. Under the Municipal Government Act, councillors are required to act honestly, in good faith, and in the best interest of the municipality. While this board operates under the Libraries Act, public confidence and local governance is interconnected. Additionally, the current mayor previously served on this library board during the period in which the Forever Canadian was granted indoor access. This overlap between municipal leadership and library governance makes clarity and neutrality even more important. Residents do not separate these institutions in their minds. They see one local governance structure. That is why consistent application of bylaws and policies is critical. A measured path forward. We are not asking the board to permanently change policy. We are asking for parity during an active petition period concerning the same constitutional subject. A reasonable solution could include access to a meeting room free of charge for the remainder of the petition period, located near the main entrance to minimize disruption, and under the community table program, a small informational sign that with a manned table directing interested residents to the room. This would not bind the board in future cases. It would simply address the disparity that has already occurred. Closing. This is not about who is right or wrong on Alberta independence. It's about whether identical circumstances are treated identically. When written bylaws, policies, and governance documents exist, residents expect them to align and to be applied consistently. This board has the authority to correct disparity and reinforce confidence. And tonight, you guys have the opportunity to do so. Thank you for your time. You guys have any questions?
Thank you, Logan. We're voters. We are voters.
Thank you to the board for allowing that.
Thank you.
We can proceed with the agenda. Kathy, did you have anything more on Series B, the IT presentation?
I have to exit, but I appreciate the conversation. And if you want to continue outside, I'm happy to. Has the presentation changed your thinking about any of it? Fair enough, thank you.
You guys have a wonderful rest of your night. Sorry what happened.
Now let's go back to.
Thank you, officers.
Thank you. Just curious, you guys got here really fast. Are you like right around the corner? Small town.
Yeah.
It ain't that small.
I did really good.
I was born when there were 500 people.
Which covers all the things that went wrong there.
Logan, would you mind just debriefing with me on camera?
Oh, yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Would that be all right?
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
We'll try to be quiet to not disrupt the library, but let me just make sure that I'm in frame here. So,
Thank you.
so if you
did a great job, Logan.
Thank you.
you really did.
Good job.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.
We deserve to have a voice here. We deserve to have a voice in this.
Absolutely. That's just unfair treatment allowing the other group to send petitions inside the library and not that's still communism.
Yeah, it's double standards in the public.
And we want a free Alberta.
Yeah.
So let's keep working hard for it.
And free access to the library.
Amen.
Those are brave of you
Thank you.
and well spoken. How do you feel?
I feel a lot better now than I was in this. It sucked at first when they were just shutting us down.
Just for my clarity, could you explain what procedure that were seemed to skirt that they didn't let you speak?
You've got to pick up some books.
And I mean tonight.
So, she wants
I
to
know
know.
of the case leading up to it, email for
And it's really-
Well, it's their question and answer period. It's supposed to be public.
Either it's not like that.
They tried to look back at my presentation, which you need to have formal 10 days, 14 days, but it's 17 says 14 days. Governance structure.
Yeah.
So that's where the discrepancy is.
Do we know if there's any precedent? Because like what they said was,
When you're in your
since
mountain,
none of the
when you're in
public
your mountain,
gallery
yeah, that's for you.
submitted a request to ask questions 10 days in advance, then we're going to skip that part. We're going to skip right through the Q&A. Do we know if they have any precedents?
I don't. They told me that they only did that for presentations, email correspondence. I did put up formal requests. I did get denied.
I'm streaming on YouTube. I don't know if anyone's watching.
Although while I have the chance, I really
How
have
can
to ask
people reach me?
I'm on Facebook, under Logan Paul Harness.
Logan Hornick.
Logan Paul Harness.
Logan Paul.
When I was gone, I was in China and was gone for 3-4
Thank you
months.
so much.
Coming
Thank
back,
you for the support as well.
everybody
That was
now
awesome.
is driving on the
That's
left
perfect. Thank
side
you.
instead of the right side. Did I miss it? Note that we are now driving on the left side instead of the right side.
So, I decided to go live. I don't normally do this. So, if you're watching, I'm David, and this was the board meeting at the Airdrie Public Library, where if you were watching Logan's presentation, you understand that there's been an imbalance in the way that the library policy was applied to petitions, or political activism. So the library intends to be politically neutral, but seems to discriminate toward one side of a constitutional question, which is Alberta independence, versus the other side. And I don't know if I'll do this again, but leave a comment or let me know if you appreciated this coverage, because I'll be around some of the petition tables, and I might do this again and go live again to keep people informed. Thanks.